California, Casanova has arrived. Headlined on the morning paper. You read it by the road, waving goodbye to your neighbor. Where the hell you supposed to go? Guess I'll meet you in the middle. Well, ain't nobody told me it'd be this hard. Guess I'll meet you in the middle. Lord only knows if I'll make it that far. Well, you told me that you loved me, then you headed way out west, chasing dreams that you'd been dreaming, loving boys you never met. I'm still stuck here in the city, so much left I have to learn. Grandpa's shaking off his cancer, just in case you hadn't heard. Guess I'll meet you in the middle. Well, ain't nobody told me it'd be this hard. Guess I'll meet you in the middle. Lord only knows if I'll make it that far. I can hear the whole town whisper, barely making out your name. Said you got some fancy hairdo. My mama's gone insane. Daddy left no goodbye letter, with no pistol on his grave. In the backyard on the blacktop, where he left them good old days. Guess I'll meet you in the middle. Well, ain't nobody told me it'd be this hard. Guess I'll meet you in the middle. Lord only knows if I'll make it that far. If I'll make it that far. Dancing on the creek bank, rising over here. It was the best years of our life. We didn't have a care. Going 90 miles an hour, a truck and an old girl. Two young ass kids, back where the dogwood flowers grow. Then graduation came. You was big city bound. I wasn't going nowhere fast, so I just hung around. By the next time I seen you, love had turned cold. So I guess you broke my heart, back where the dogwood flowers grow. Wide on the wouldn't recognize me. My soul's been torn and twisted like that old dogwood tree. You talk about forever, that was a million miles ago. So I see if I see back where the dogwood flowers grow. White on the bloom, that April moon. You ain't that said on leaving in New
There we go. Now my mic is on. We're still trying to figure all this out. Anyways, Shane and Hannah are joining me today. They will be back in a second. Their mics, I had to mute them for the intro, but it looks like we've got Shane now. He is here. Let's see, how do we get him? And there's Hannah.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, and I think the people can hear you. And they should be able to only hear you once and not twice like the last time.
He's not going to sound like a Martian this time.
I'm trying to get it to where... Okay. Well, you can still see me on this screen. But I'm bringing y'all in anyways. I'll keep messing with it, and I'll figure it out at some point. Here we are, again, having technical difficulties, as always. I'm hoping to get that sorted out soon. I've got the guys that made our graphics working on a couple screens for us where we can have 2 and 3 people in it. But for now, this is kind of what we got to work with. Skype, and I'm not good with Skype. Is your full screen?
I saw it for a second. Sort of.
Speaker view. Oh, there's Hannah real big. Nice. And now she's real big. This is terrible. This is going so well beforehand. Whatever. We're here. We're here. What's up, guys? How are y'all doing tonight?
Sure about that.
Pretty good. It's a wild weekend,
yeah.
Which we'll talk about plenty. So.
Yes, it was. It was indeed. Did either of y'all make it to Austin for the game? Y'all both at home?
I watched from my house.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to get there. Wanted to, but I just wasn't able to.
Yeah, it was a good one. I was lucky enough to be able to get there. I found a pretty good deal on a ticket. Shout out to his name's Michael Paul. Hook'em11, I think, on Twitter. Really hooked me up with a great ticket. I was like 18 rows up from the field, and I mean, what a game it was, man. I mean, the crowd was insane. I think the team went well above our expectations. Here we go. This is going to fix it. Boom. There we go. Call me a technology genius. It'll fix it. But yeah, I mean, what a game, what an atmosphere it was. And I mean, really, 105,000 people, a new record at DKR, and it felt like it every bit being in the stands. And I don't know what it was like on TV, but it really was just the best atmosphere I've ever been at. I think second best is probably Iowa State. I remember what year that was. I think it was 2018 when Texas was playing them to go to the Big 12 championship game.
The Journey game.
Yeah.
Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah. The infamous Don't Stop Believing game. That was the coolest. And then this one, especially for an 11 a.m. kick, was just unreal. But so whenever I first brought up the stream, I had the picture of Bryce Young's shin down on the ground. And I kind of wanted to talk about that first, I guess, because there's a lot that we can talk about in this game. A lot of things where if it's like, if that would have happened, things would have been different. But I thought that was one that the referees blatantly just mishandled.
Oh, yeah, clearly. How you go from a clean tackle to shown touching his foot, and you want to call roughing the passer and target, to not viewing whether or not he was down by contact or not, which he was, before even throwing the ball. So, I mean, that play was over at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even review whether or not he was down. I don't understand that. My dad was a college official. He watched the game, and he couldn't believe what those officials might have been looking at. He couldn't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. During the game, I didn't really know what had happened because there was so much going on in the stadium. Obviously, everyone reacting to what the officials were calling on the field. But after when I learned they had called targeting and then they didn't review whether he was down in the end zone. I was shocked, and I don't know if maybe that's a rule. Like you can, if you're reviewing targeting, can you not review the call on the field then? Um, and I get why it wasn't grounding because it hit off of Overshown's helmet, which is an unlucky bounce, I guess, for us. But I couldn't believe they didn't take a look at it. And there was also another shot with his wrist on the ground. Um, Very unfortunate turn of events there. You could feel the momentum just after that play when it was initially like, okay, that was a safety. It was bananas in there. And I fully believe we would have gone down, and I don't know if we would have scored a touchdown because the offense had just gotten stagnant at that point, but at least another field goal, that's at least a 5-point swing for Texas there. But anyways, that's not the only thing that happened. Hannah, I know you said you had just watched it before we came on here. What are some of your main takeaways from Saturday's game?
Okay, first of all, so the big other story is, had Quinn Ewers not gone down at the end of the first quarter, who knows? Obviously, our chances of winning go up exponentially. Some are saying that it could be 10 points or more. We could have absolutely mopped the field with them, whatnot. But especially after rewatching it, and of course, we were all pissed. But Hudson Card was at least serviceable. And I think had he had been healthy as well, we could have easily won too. He did not lose the game for us. So I don't want, yes, losing Quinn was huge, but Hudson came in and he didn't just fall apart either. So you got to give him some props too, especially playing injured. And it sounds like he's going to be out for a while also. So do y'all remember that? It was the score. It was the pass, I believe, to Zay that set up the touchdown. No, it was Bijan. Remember that little that they've shown all day, and I've seen some good things about our offensive line on that play too. But we can talk about that later. But Hudson Card stepped in. He didn't turn over the ball. He did his job, and so that's all we could really ask for. So props to Hudson.
Yeah, I'll definitely give him props, and especially playing on an injured ankle. That's hard to do as a quarterback. Moving around the pocket, especially as a quarterback who is his mobility. You even heard Sark say it in his press conference this morning. Mobility is his number one thing, and so to have a bum ankle, that's really tough to come in and pick up where Quinn left off. But I won't say. I struggle to say that he came in and really we didn't miss a beat. I think even still some of his weaknesses were exposed, and he was not moving the ball like Quinn was. And I think injury or not, I think that still happens, just because I don't think that one thing that me and the people in the stands next to me, I talked to my cousin about it who actually played college football, played quarterback at the college level. Hudson holds onto the ball for just a second too long every single time, and it's very apparent. And it was very apparent Saturday too. There were a lot of plays where, he waited for a guy to get open instead of trusting the route, throwing it to him to get him open, or he waited a second to get to his next read, or whatever the case, took a sack or had pressure in his face and made a bad throw. So I think. I give him all the credit in the world for going out there injured and putting up the performance he did, because I think he did very well considering the circumstances. But I think there's no doubt in my mind, had Quinn Ewers stayed in that football game, I think it would have been a completely different story offensively.
I think it would have too. But I want to go back to Hudson for a minute because, yes, he has his limitations. Ankle got hurt in the second quarter, so play calling had to change because he wasn't able to really move. like he should have been able, like he usually is able to. And scrambles for 16 yards and a first down. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he didn't give everything he had. It's one of the gutsiest performances I've seen out of a quarterback, a backup quarterback, in a long time. So
it was, even injured, it was still much improvement from his performance in the Arkansas game last year.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
So, I mean, so there's been growth there. It's not like he, it's not like he hasn't improved. Clearly he has, because, like I said, long story short, like, he didn't exactly lose the game for us. Were we as effective now? But
he did. He wasn't nearly as effective as he was, and you could clearly see why Quinn Ewers won the starting job. He's just a much different quarterback. The offense is a completely different animal when he's running it, and he put up, what was it, one of the best first quarters that's ever been put up against Alabama. So, yeah. All the credit to him. We can sit here and debate what might have happened. I'm with Tyler. I think we win that game. He stays in, does some things, but our defense stood up all day long. I don't know how much they would have actually gotten done.
Yeah. The stat on that is 134 yards. If you haven't seen this yet, I mean, it's incredible. 134 yards in the first quarter, and that is the fourth most ever in the first quarter against a Nick Saban defense, which is just an incredible stat. But anyways, so let's talk about the defense a little bit too, because what a performance by them. All game long. I mean, who would have thought? Shane and I talked about it at the beginning of the year before we even kicked, before we saw anything. It was like the biggest question is going to be what is the defense going to do? Are they going to be worse than they were last year potentially? There's just so many question marks, and I mean they're so much better than they were last year. And against an Alabama offense that maybe this offensive line isn't the best offensive line that Alabama's ever seen, but Bama's always going to have a good offensive line, and I think we disrupted a lot of plays on the ground. I think we got to the quarterback a lot more than I expected to, and the front seven did an absolutely incredible job.
Well, I'm trying to remember who it was, and it might have been, I think it was Danny Cannell. But he made a comment that Bryce Young was running for his life.
Yeah.
All game. And he really was, because we had pressure on him all day. We were getting good, solid hits on him. Sweat. God damn it, he was down. We were in his face all day. We disrupted his game. We had him off of his game. And if not for a hold, he doesn't. I don't even think he gets him in field goal range in the fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I that last play. I guess it wasn't the last play, but the play that you're talking about with that hold. I mean, God, just how close were we? Right there. If Ryan Watts doesn't outrun Bryce Young, if he's able to just hold on even for a second longer, because it's not like Ovi was just getting bullied off the edge there either. Like he was getting some push. So even if he's able to slow Bryce Young down just a little bit, let some help get there, whatever the case. If Bryce Young doesn't pick up 16 on that run, I don't think they kick a game-winning field goal. And if the hold gets called, who knows what happens after that? Maybe Bama throws a big play up the middle or whatever.
That was. I mean, it would have been backed up 10 yards. I mean, God damn it.
It's really the only thing you can say, huh?
Yeah, it definitely stings more watching it and then being 2 days removed from it. You're kind of like letting it all sink in. You're like, I cannot believe we lost it. And it just doesn't seem right, because I think if you were to ask Nick Saban how he feels about the game, I guarantee you, yeah, it's a win on paper, but he probably has this like pit in his stomach that knowing that, you know, all intents and purposes, like they pretty much lost the game. Like they got away on that fluke call, that fluke safety non-call. But they didn't deserve to win. We had them on their heels from the very, very, very beginning. And it's going to sting for a while. And regardless, I think it still is a measuring stick of us going forward to see how well we do bounce back from it, to see if we can keep the momentum and this fire and passion that we have throughout the rest of the season, if we can overcome the adversity with the injuries and whatnot. Next week's going to be interesting, even though it's UTSA, but they're still decent.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a world where Appalachian State beat the number 6 Aggies.
Number 6. Number 6, right.
I'm just saying, I'm not expecting to necessarily game, but you can't treat any game in this sport like over. I mean, as we've seen. So we'll see what they do with it.
Yeah.
Well,
And go ahead.
It's like I said last night on Twitter. Do not disrespect you because that can play.
Yeah.
Well coached.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Traylor is a football coach. And we know that from his time on the 40 acres. He can coach some football. He's going to have that team ready to play. They're going to be motivated. They're coming to Austin. They're going to want to take a win out. They really are.
Yeah. Like you said, a well-coached football team. Jeff Traylor, I mean, really the whole Traylor family. They're legend out there in East Texas. And he was a legend at Gilmer, and he's really I think he's bringing UTSA into the spotlight right now. Now, I still think it's to be seen if UTSA is actually a viable football team this year. You know, I think they're going to be well coached. But we talked about it, in the preseason. They lost a lot. They lost Sincere McCormick. They lost a lot on defense. They lost a lot on offense. And, I don't know what we can expect out of UTSA right now because I don't know if Houston's any good. They certainly haven't looked great.
Yeah.
And then, the game against Army, I know that triple option is kind of funky, but still, Army's a team that I think most good teams find a way to beat, not in overtime, and certainly not giving up 38 points to that Army team. But I don't know. I think UTSA comes in and makes a little bit of noise, but I think Texas still probably wins that one by probably 17 points or so. Maybe a closer 17 than just to run away with it and sneak away with 17. But what do y'all think?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I can see the 17. I can see it being like maybe closer than what we want, like say in the first half, and then just kind of getting away with it or running away with it in the second half. There's no way why we shouldn't win by that much, for sure. I don't know. I hope we come out and play another clean game like we had the last 2 games and we don't let it slip just because, we still have the majority of the season left. So.
Yeah. Shane, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, we're currently 13.5-point favorites at home. I don't see any reason we don't cover that, even if some of the, big names don't start or play. Not really concerned with, you gotta respect your opponent, but I don't see anything in UTSA that scares me. Really.
Yeah, I don't either, except maybe a little bit of a dual threat quarterback. I do see a little bit of a weakness in the Texas defense there. I feel like we don't contain the edge well, And I think it was Sarkisian that talked about it on one of those shows where they sit down with Longhorn Network and break down the game. Is just part of that press coverage, the man coverage that you play in the secondary. Those kind of things are going to happen because a lot of times the secondary gets cleared out, or you've got a linebacker lined up over a receiver, a running back that gets cleared out, and then you're really just hoping that your four guys up front are able to contain a guy that's a dual threat quarterback. And so it worries me a little bit, but I think we did okay with it against Louisiana Monroe. Bryce Young certainly has capability to run around, and I think we did an okay job of containing him for the most part. But I agree. I think you said 13.5 was the line right now.
13.5 is the line for us.
I feel comfortable saying that we cover that.
Interesting for me to look this morning because Oklahoma is also a point favorite against Nebraska.
Tell me y'all's thoughts on that game.
Well, it's going to be interesting because now we don't really know what Nebraska is going to look like.
Yeah.
With their new coach or interim coach or whatever they're calling it. So, I mean, does Nebraska come out with their hair on fire because now they're not having to deal with Scott Frost? We'll see. I think that's kind of why that line is gone to where it is. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows what's really going to happen there.
Yeah. I always find it interesting when teams get rid of coaches in the middle of the season. And this one was at early in the season. It's still mid-September. So for whatever reason, I guess they felt like if they went ahead and did it, there was enough there that they could maybe salvage the season to a degree. I don't know, but you would assume that that's kind of the thought, that it would do more good than harm to go ahead and get rid of them now. So, I mean, there's no telling what it could be. If it could be a culture problem, discipline problem, whatever. But, I mean, even last year, take Texas Tech, for example. They were a different team toward the end of the season than they were, even when we played them. And they had a coaching turnover, too. So they got better. We'll see. I don't know if, 1 week will make that big of a difference, but they're also playing in Lincoln. I think that this is an old rivalry game. They care. The fans are going to be there. They're going to be loud. I mean, Nebraska's, they're really good and supportive like that. But I don't know. I'm also not really big on the Oklahoma bandwagon either. So I think anything can happen.
And I'm with you on that, Hannah. I think Oklahoma has some holes. Their fans are never going to admit it. But having watched them through 2 weeks, there are some things that I think teams like Texas can exploit, and exploit in a hurry and exploit in a big way. So it's going to be really interesting as we move towards October 8th, finding out more and more about both of our teams, really. But I kind of want to go back to a point that was made about UTSA. Yes, they have the mobile quarterback. The problem for UTSA is I don't think they have the horses along the offensive line to handle what our defensive front has been doing. So, and the way that our defense has been swarming to the ball, Coach Sark pointed out in his press conference today, there was one play where there was one tackle missed, but he got the runner stopped, and then he got a little bit more forward, and then another guy hit him and stopped his momentum, and then all of a sudden there were 8 other guys right around him, and they got him down for maybe a 1-yard gain. So the Texas is pursuing to the ball better than I've seen in years, which makes me think they can handle that mobile quarterback, especially with the lack of size and offensive line for UTSA.
Yeah.
I think another thing, and we didn't have any turnovers in this the Bama game either way, which was kind of surprising if you think about it. We had some close calls both ways, but I think that's something I definitely want to see this game, especially against UTSA, is us on defense being able to turn the ball over a few times, at least once. What do y'all think?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've got to start forcing more turnovers. I didn't really expect much in the turnover department against Alabama. In fact, I thought if there was going to be a turnover, it was going to be us, with freshman quarterback, things like that. But like you said, neither team turned the ball over, and that just kind of led to what that game ended up being. It was just a fantastic game start to finish. It's too bad the refs ruined it.
Yeah. I want to turn to the chat real quick because I just figured out I couldn't see the chat the whole time. I thought it just was nobody chatting, but apparently there are people chatting, and I'm just seeing it. So Speed817 earlier said hashtag Big 12 refs suck. Yes, we know that more than anybody in the world, and yes, they absolutely do.
Exact same crew that threw the flag on Charlie Strong for the ref bumping into him.
Was it that crew? I thought it was.
Goggles was on that crew, 100%.
It's awful. It's awful. It's awful that anybody on that crew has a job still.
I was about to say this is 7 years later, roughly, and they're still working, especially together.
Yeah.
Like they haven't mixed them up at least, so.
Really bad.
I didn't know that. Don't tell Bama fans that.
As soon as I saw Goggles, I knew we were in for a long
day. My dad commenting the hold on the edge on the Young scramble and the non-face mask call were far more damaging. Yeah, I mean, we talked about a little bit the hold on the edge on that scramble. Terrible no call, in my opinion. Nick Copeland said after that, if it's not called in the first or second quarter, then hold isn't going to get called later in the game. I mean, I've seen a lot of this kind of talk on Twitter, like there's holding on every play, holding gets missed on every play. And while that's true, I think holding on the edge like that is a little more inexcusable to miss, just because you've got line judges right there. I mean, they're there to look for those kinds of things.
The worst part is he was looking right at it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if he was watching Ryan Watts fly over him, or if I don't know what happened there. But I mean, I get it. Like I get throughout the game.
Throw it.
Yeah, I get throughout the game. There's going to be missed calls, but to see one in that capacity at that point in the game, that's a bad no call. My friend Madison says just caught the end of that, but we expected more of him. I think this is on Hudson Card. It's disappointing nonetheless that he's not confident like Ewers. I agree. There's something to be said with how he came in and played in this game, though, as far as his confidence goes. Because, like, what we saw, one of you mentioned, he looked a lot better than he did against Arkansas last year. And I think what we saw against Arkansas last year, and really Hudson Card in general last year, was, when the lights were on, it was too big for him. And what more of a lights-on moment than 105,000 people in the stands against the number one team in the country? And no, he didn't play perfectly, but like y'all said, he looked more improved. So I got to give him a little bit of credit there for doing that. And then Rhett, Hannah, this is your Texas Tech buddy from the first stream.
Yes.
He gives a thumbs up I think the thumbs up was a comment to you saying that Tech got better last year after the coaching change. And then he said Oklahoma's hole is that they hired Matt Wells, Cornhuskers by 90, go Big Red. So, yeah, we'd had a conversation about that earlier today, that Matt Wells is now an analyst at OU.
And might I just add, back to Oklahoma and Nebraska. Well, Oklahoma last week, they struggled in the first half, the entire first half against Kent State.
Yeah,
they got away with it in the second half, but if that doesn't, without knowing any other stat about that game, if that doesn't, show blazing red flashing lights, then I don't know what else does. I don't know that we've had so far, and we've just played 2 games, like gone into like I call like a funk. You know what I mean? Where you just like you can't get any momentum going. You're just kind of blah. You're just there. Well, they had an entire half of that to a really terrible team. Clearly, there's holes. So
that's a great point, because I mean, you just got me thinking back, and I haven't felt like we went in or really struggled with a team at any point. You know, that game Saturday was just that was a dogfight from start to finish, and it was. I think I posted at one point on the B12C account that my heart was in my throat. I mean, I was just that bought in and that enthralled with that game. It was so much, even though we lost, it was just a great watch.
Yeah. The first series. So Hudson came in, like we were in the middle of driving the ball when Hudson came in.
We were on like the 2-yard line. That was right after that pass to X.
They got which was complete, but then he gets knocked down and so personal foul, and so they moved it up to the 2. We end up scoring. So his next complete series, like it was a 3 and out, and I remember being really, really annoyed with like the play calls. Of course, Sark may have done that, like kind of scaled it back a little bit just to kind of get him into the game some. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like get him working, get his blood pumping, get him like used to that. So maybe, but that was the only time that I was just like all out frustrated in this game was that series, because it was like, are we turtle tomming again? Like it was very Tom Hermione. But other than that, going back to what we're talking about like funk, like our energy level and our commitment level has always kind of been like high, where we've really struggled with that in the past.
Yeah.
So
100%.
And then Madison says again, to add, 5-yard field goal should always be made. I'm done. I digress. Yeah, that field goal before the half is what she's talking about. Now, I did see actually on Twitter that I think Will Anderson got a hand on that kick.
He did.
Yeah, so that explains it a little more from where I was watching. Go ahead.
It definitely wasn't a straight miss. It was blocked.
Yeah. That's what I saw on Twitter. So I guess it forgives it a little bit, but I don't know. I didn't sit there and break that down to see where it went wrong. I don't know if that was in the protection where it broke down, or if that was a snap and hold thing.
Bad snap.
Yeah.
Or a combination of several factors, which I kind of lean toward that, because if you do go back and watch it, it seems to me, and I could be wrong, that the kicker, like, because it was a bad snap and bad hold, like there's like this brief like kind of hesitation before he actually follows through with the kick. So yeah, which gave Will Anderson time to fly over and bat it down or whatever.
Yeah,
Anderson, pretty impressive vertical on that too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he jumped in the neutral zone like 17 times.
The crowd was all day long.
Yeah.
It started getting frustrated. You could see it in some of the stupid penalties, especially the late hit, or where he came back and I think he hit one of our offensive linemen or something like that. It just pushed him to the ground, and you just don't see Will Anderson do stuff like that.
No.
And you don't.
Even with Alabama, they had to take a couple timeouts. I know there was one
early
in the second quarter. There may have been in the first quarter, but I know they took at least 2 timeouts throughout the game because they couldn't get the play call in. They couldn't get whatever audible they wanted. But man,
they had a delay of game, I think once at least too.
And that's so uncharacteristic.
You could see the frustration on Nick Saban's face. Because of course, when you're watching it from home, they zoom in on his face, like, and he's pacing. He's got like you can tell he is pissed.
Yeah.
But
really good friend of mine is a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan. Very, very knowledgeable about Alabama. Of course, with how many times they lost to them before finally beating them last year. But he was texting me the entire game, and he was talking about how he's never seen Alabama play that sloppy. And you could feel the crowd through the TV. I mean, you could absolutely feel it. They were a factor. They need to be a factor just like that in the rest of the home games this year. But he was telling me, he was like, he's never seen Saban. Number one, he's never seen Saban take a timeout that early in a game. And then by the end of the game, he was texting me saying that Saban looked like he aged 5 years in 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the stat? Like, this is the most penalties that Alabama's had, like, in Saban's. There's some stat, and I've heard it thrown around on Twitter and whatnot. Maybe one of you guys has it in front of you. I don't know. But, like, this is, like, by far the most penalized game for.
The most they had been penalized in a game before Saturday was 12 times under Saban.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, well, and they deserved them. I mean, if you, the refs were garbage in a lot of places, but they genuinely screwed up for most of those penalties. You really can't. I mean, and I don't know about y'all. I'm really tired of this narrative. Well, Alabama played uncharacteristically bad. It's not that Texas is good. I'm like, great teams don't get that sloppy. Great teams know how to handle that, especially in Alabama, Nick Saban Alabama team. Like, I get a little bit annoyed. I'm a little, you can't, that doesn't take away from Texas, like, at all. If anything, it points to, like, we had them on their heels. We rattled them so much. Like, that is us playing good, you know?
I'll give Barrett Sallee and Tom Luginbill credit because I was listening to them on college football Sunday or college sports Sunday on my way from my house to up here in Joplin. And they were talking about the fact that Bama did not have a characteristic Bama game, but then they turned it right around and gave Texas the credit for because of the way Texas played, because of how disruptive they were on defense and how fearless they were on offense. And they talked about the offense, the way the offense was moving the ball with Quinn Ewers as a quarterback against that Alabama defense. And they were talking about how nobody expected that. And, you know, you can't help but wonder what would have happened. You know, I don't like sitting around going, what if? But it's hard.
Yeah. My kid keeps trying to come in. Anyway, yeah, life. Okay, so something else about, like, Texas and the Fire, the physicality that we had. Of course, it was obvious on defense. But, okay, going back to last year in that Arkansas game, do you remember there was a late hit on Hudson? And one of the big narratives or one of the big things was that the offensive line was just kind of like, oh, well, whatever. Like, no, that's when you take a personal, like,
yeah.
All right, yeah.
Retaliation, yeah.
Yes, you take the penalty because it sends a message. Right. You're not going to F with my quarterback. You're not going to just shove him around. So there was a late hit. I believe it was either late in the second quarter or early in the third quarter. There's a late hit. And Christian Jones comes up and like after the late hit, he's like, you know, get the F off my dude. Yeah. Like, you're not going to push him around. I like seeing that, like him getting in his face. I like seeing that from all of our line. You can tell just as a team and like they have each other's back. They believe in each other. The culture is actually changing and you can see it in like moments like that. You know, he wasn't going to allow somebody to just, even though they got penalized for it, he was still sending a message himself. Nope, this is not going to fly. Yeah, precisely. So.
You talk about changes that you can see. There were a couple of plays where Alabama was trying to get the ball out on the edge when they were, and I think one of them was Jaron Thompson. The other one might have been Crawford. Just came up like they were shot out of a cannon and laid a hit on whoever caught that ball, and it looked like they didn't even think about it. It was just full-on confidence play, and you didn't see that from our defense last year. Nobody did that last year.
That sack that Jalen Ford got, where he just got shooting out of a cannon, like untouched almost, just out of nowhere. that was like
shown against Oklahoma last year.
Yeah. But we had several times like that. Like, it's just, I mean, you're not going to stop us. And yes, maybe Bama's line isn't as great as they have been in the past. Whatever. They're still Alabama's line, and they're still really good. They will be the hardest or the toughest offensive line this defense will face all year long, hands down.
Yeah.
And so even if they had an off game or whatever, like, our defense showed that we can play to that level of football, you know.
Texas defense set a new standard for itself on Saturday. They absolutely.
So, here's a question about that, if we're going to talk about it. How much is Gary Patterson the factor in this?
Huge.
Yeah, it's got to be, I mean, 80%. If I have to put a percentage on it, I mean, the night and day difference between how the defense is playing this year and last year, the only difference is Gary Patterson.
Hire that man, put him in a headset.
Yeah. Don't let him go to Nebraska.
No, keep him at all costs.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have to pay him.
I'm over it being weird seeing him in burnt orange heat mustache.
God, yeah. I also like the interaction that he obviously has with the team himself, you know. So
those players love him. They love him.
Yeah.
We got here.
I'm glad CDC was like, nope, we're gonna bring in GPAT.
Yeah.
Like,
he's such a nice dude.
Yeah, he really is. Little flex here. I'm gonna flex for you, Shane, because you're not gonna do it. But he responded to our Twitter DMs, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. And Shane reached out to him. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big Gary Patterson fan. And any of my family that's in here will attest to this. But we hated Gary Patterson at TCU. We always called him hitch 'em ups because he's always walking down the sideline pulling his pants up. So we were sweating his ass off. We were not Gary Patterson fans by any stretch, but when he's on our sideline, you know, or I guess not on our sideline, but when he's in the Texas.
Yeah, I definitely have to. I definitely need to go back to my tweets like last year with TCU because I was cursing up a Twitter storm against Gary Patterson. It's like, okay, I take all of it back.
Start deleting tweets.
Yeah, don't tell Billy.
Nope.
We need to get Billy on here the next time A&M loses to App State at home, so that we can talk to him about
Miami this next week, or Arkansas the week after that. So.
You mean what if?
Yeah. They're going to lose one of them. I'm making that call. They're going to lose to at least Miami, Arkansas, if not both. So.
They're going to. There'll be 3 straight losses by the time they get to week 5.
Are they still doing that Arkansas game at Jerry World?
Yep.
I hate that. I wish that game would go back to college campus because it just doesn't have the same feel.
They're trying to force a rivalry. Yeah. I feel like, or like rekindle like an old Southwest Conference, blah, blah, blah. But they were never really like rivals.
Yeah,
not like that, you know. Yeah. I think that's what they were trying to. They're trying to like mimic the Texas OU atmosphere. Well, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially not with A&M and Arkansas, but
absolutely.
At Jerry World. Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at the chat. Speed 817.
Mm-hmm.
The crew Saturday was the same crew from the OU game last year. Also had a lot of questionable calls, reviews. And I know which one he's talking about. It was that catch by Mike Woods along the sideline.
Yeah.
Where he ran himself out of bounds, came back in and they didn't review the fact that he ran his ass out of bounds.
They were reviewing something else completely. And it's like, you're looking at the tape. Do you not see his fucking foot?
They reviewed it on the other end of it when he caught it. They didn't review where he stepped out on his own.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we were all 3 there at the game, weren't we? Like we're going nuts. We can see it on the video board.
Oh God, how is he still calling football games? I have no clue.
Yeah, they should have been at least like suspended or whatever, like in 2015 during that Charlie Strong like debacle. For sure. I can't, again, going back to what you said earlier, Tyler, I can't believe that they're A, still employed, but B, still allowed to work together.
Yep.
It makes no sense to me. I won't miss this conference. Not really. No.
I don't know. I don't know if it gets any better in the SEC. I've seen plenty of bitching from SEC people on Twitter about their officials, and I think it's just where we are as in a world of referees.
I don't know, because the SEC folks that I know, when they watched that game Saturday, were like, "Oh my god!" We complain about refs, but they ain't that bad.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about Sark's press conference, but we've talked about that a lot. It was a big week for upsets. Texas obviously almost pulled the biggest one off, but obviously we've talked about it. A&M losing, Notre Dame losing, which I have some friends that are Notre Dame fans, and they'll hate me if I say this, but it makes my heart happy. Baylor losing to BYU, not as big of an upset, but it really shook up the AP poll this week. Texas, I saw, and I think I'm going to pull the tweet up because I want to get it right, but it was from Alex Loeb of the Longhorn Network. Let's see. Texas will be the first school to play as a ranked team after losing and being unranked in the prior week since 1997. Which is the year I was born.
Golly, you're a baby. No, yeah, think about that. Yeah, if you want to compare, because everybody, all the Aggies, well, a loss is still a loss. I'm like, we're the first team in ages to actually move not just up the rankings, but into the rankings and then up after losing.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I took the week 2 and week 3. So Reddit College Football, I don't know if y'all see this on Twitter, but they break down how every AP voter voted for the entire week. And I'll pull up a picture here in a second. But I'm going to pull this over. I'm going to cover y'all for a minute. But this is the spreadsheet that I made of the 2 weeks. And for the most part, like, almost everybody had either taken Texas from unranked to ranked. You see the week 2 and then week 3 here. And then, those that didn't move them up a lot, including one of the voters from Boise State had us unranked in week 2 and ranked us number 12 this week. And then there were a couple that dropped us. A voter from LSU. It wasn't Leah Van. She has us out both weeks. But one of the LSU voters dropped us out. But I was really surprised that so many voters moved us up as far as they did. There's 2 people that bumped us up 10 spots, and 11 up 12 spots, up 14 spots. Really crazy. I guess everyone was impressed.
Well, and this probably happens more often than it doesn't, but so Alabama won, but apparently, they did win, but they played poorly enough, or we played well enough to knock them, to make them digress in the rankings or go back just one spot, but still,
When you come into a game as a 21.5 point underdog at game time to the number 1 team in the country, and you lose by 1 point, and you jump into the polls and they drop a spot. Yeah, you've made an impression on a lot of people. Made a good impression.
It makes you, it will all iron out in the long run, so it doesn't even matter. But you can't help but kind of speculate or wonder, if we would have won, where would we be sitting right now? Because there's been several, I think we should automatically, especially with A&M losing to App State and Notre Dame shitting the bed, why wouldn't we be in the top 10?
Yeah.
I wouldn't care if we were 9, or even number 10, but I would be pissed, honestly, if we would have won that game and the polls would have came out yesterday and we were sitting at 11 or 12. I would have been but
to that
Joel
point, or go ahead.
Platt, who called the game with Gus Johnson on Saturday, had us in his top 10. So.
Yeah.
Joel had us at number 10, and we lost. So, but he gets it.
Yeah, I think he gets it, but as much as I love Klatt and what he does, I think he can be a little reactionary with those top 10s because I've seen him do some questionable things with it. But
I also think that he kind of has this like certain disdain for the SEC in general, and he's always been like kind of pro Texas, which is weird because we almost broke his neck in 2005. We almost took his head off in that Big 12 championship game. But still, like he's pretty. He's not as like quick to overlook Texas or other Big 12 schools like a lot of the other national media people are. So.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But
I'm gonna pull up this picture real quick, and it flashed briefly on the screen, but this is what I was talking about. It's really cool what Reddit College Football does with this. And my camera's in the way, and I'm not moving it because it's a pain in the ass to move. But on the screen, I mean, it's every voter, the teams that they're affiliated with, and then every vote that they had for the entire top 25. And if you look at this for more than like 5 minutes, you'll get a crazy headache because I sure did last night when I was breaking this down. But I don't know. I just think it's really cool to see like every week how high people have Texas. I think the highest this week was 12. I like to look at Kirk Bowles as our AP voter, which y'all can attest to. He sucks. But he had Texas at 19, I think, which is surprising because I think Kirk Bowles hates Texas. But
yes, he does. He didn't vote for Vince Young to win the Heisman, so
yeah, right.
he will forever be in the doghouse over
right.
that.
We don't like. Oh shoot!
Didn't mean to do that. Been fired at that point.
Well, he comes from this. My dad's always said this. Like he comes from the era of like the old school sports writers, where their job is to sell newspapers, and so the biggest way to do that is to be like controversial. So yeah, he still kind of like does the like stirring up shit, and then he's just a crab. But yeah, which is a factor, but still he's you're doing something right the few times that he actually gives you props. And I mean, yeah, I think
he's the sports writer equivalent of the get off my lawn guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So looking at the AP top 25 for this week, Georgia at number 1, which I think is pretty clear cut. Like, if you don't have Georgia number 1 at this point, I don't know how after Bama's performance. And I really wouldn't have been that surprised to see Alabama drop down to 3. It looks like they were just 21 points off, which if you don't know how the AP poll works, I'll pull this back up just for reference. So when somebody votes, so like we'll use this top one as reference, when they vote Georgia as number 1, Georgia's given 25 points. If they're voted number 2, they're given 24 points, so on and so forth through all of that. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the poll is the AP number 1 team. So 21 points across 63 voters is really not that far off. So I'm surprised they were that close.
I wonder whoever that troll coach was, the preseason coaches poll that voted Texas number 1.
It had to have been Saban.
I don't know. I could just see this person like had we have won being like, told y'all. Oh man.
Okay.
I guess it's good for A&M fans that we didn't win because that mixed in with the Appalachian State loss. Like I would be absolutely unbearable.
Oh yeah.
Even more so right now, but it's okay. I get to roast in Oklahoma this weekend, and I'm more looking forward to that.
I don't enjoy Oklahoma getting up to 6. I feel like that's kind of just a product of like they got lucky. People in front of them lost.
How do you move up when you have 7 points in the first half
against Kent State?
That's
because the people in front of them lost. I mean, they went
Yeah,
from
but
7 to 6. It's A&M's fault in the long run.
Oh, well, it's okay. I mean, eventually, if Oklahoma is not as good as we think they're going to not be or be or
Right.
whatever,
It'll
they're
take
going to
care
end
of
up shooting
itself.
themselves in the foot. It's all going to equal itself out
Yeah.
anyway. So,
Do we think USC is a number 7 team in the country?
who has them at 7?
The AP poll.
Oh, they're right. That's right. They're right behind. They're right behind OU.
Mhm.
I can't wait till they jump them. It's going to be hilarious. No, they're not the number 17 country.
I don't think so either. I just don't see
I
it.
See, all of this talk is one of those big reasons why I don't think polls should come out until like mid-October anyway.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
But they do because we have something to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. I do appreciate
yeah,
it.
I get it. I get that polls are like part of every college sport. It's just something that it's always been, and it's just always going to be. But oh, sorry. I don't think they're any more like. I think they're most detrimental in college football than they are in the other sports because just of the number of games played across the board. In football is much less.
Yep.
You don't get to see them matched up against other people so much. So.
Yeah, it looks like we dropped Shane. Don't know what happened. Oh God, and Hannah's having a coughing fit now too. Okay. Other big movers. We've got Kentucky moved up from 20 to 9 after their win against Florida. I guess we dropped Shane. I don't know if he's going to get back on or not. Maybe his phone died or something. But yeah, Kentucky moves up to 9 from 20. Arkansas moves up 6 spots to number 10. BYU jumps to 12 from 21 after their win against Baylor, which I think is fair. I don't know. I still don't know if I think BYU is the number 12 team.
Baylor's still in the top 25.
Yeah.
I could. What did you say Arkansas was at? I could buy that.
Yeah, number 10. They look a lot better than. I think they're better than USC.
I agree. I think so too.
I think Kentucky is too. I don't know about Michigan State or BYU.
Yeah.
And then let's see who else. Tennessee moved up from 24 to 15.
I don't know about them.
I don't know about them either because I don't know about Pitt. I don't think Pitt was ever a top 25 team. I think they just lost too much.
Ooh, we need to talk about Kansas now.
Yes, we can talk about Kansas now.
And how they might be kind of good.
Kansas is back? Question mark.
Were they ever there?
That's the Mangino era.
Yes, they were.
Here, let's see if I can move this camera. I don't know how long Shane's gonna be gone. Oh, I'm moving you. That's not good.
I can't see you at all, so it's okay.
Good Lord, this is so dysfunctional.
I'm so glad for our 12 listeners right now. Y'all are awesome.
Yeah, no shit. Thank you for staying and
always
putting up with this because this is very dysfunctional on the technology side of things. We need to get somebody who's good with technology on the stream so that they can do all this shit and I don't have to.
I know somebody.
You do?
I'll text you. I'll text you about it. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I do want to talk about Kansas because on the stream last week, I was just kind of looking down the Big 12 schedule for the week, and I said that West Virginia was going to blow them out, but I talked a lot about how I thought Kansas was going to be a lot better this year than they have been in the past because we saw. Okay, sorry, I got to pause real quick. My friend Rhett just said in the chat that he's great with technology and he's got us. Ignore that. He sucks with technology. He's worse than I am.
Sorry, Rhett.
But I had said that I think Kansas has turned a corner, and I think we saw it last year. Obviously, they beat Texas at home, which still sucks to say. And then we saw them play.
It wasn't the same type of Kansas loss that when like we lost there with Charlie Brown. It wasn't like that. I know what you mean.
Brown.
I agree.
Did you just call him Charlie Brown?
Did I say Charlie Brown? I just mixed Matt Brown and Charlie Brown. Wow.
It's okay.
Yes.
I knew what you meant. Yeah, I don't know. It was the first half was really, really bad. And in full transparency, I didn't. Okay, here I'm moving this now. I didn't watch most of that game because one of my friends was having a birthday party, and we went to a concert. And I
Yeah.
thought my thinking was, well, Texas has
Oh,
this
it's
one in the
just
bag. It's Kansas, so this is a good one to skip on. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I don't know. I mean, they played. Obviously, they beat us. They played OU really well last year, so I think they were moving in the right direction. And so I thought this year, I didn't think they'd beat West Virginia, but I thought they were going to come out and put up a fight against more teams this year. And here we
Yeah.
are, week 2. Kansas 2-0.
I know, right? Like, to be fair to them, because we made it into the top 25. If I were a Kansas fan, I'd be kind of miffed that they're not. This is again like kind of like the bullshit that is these polls, but I don't know how well I see them doing overall, but I wouldn't be surprised if they at least made a bowl.
Yeah.
I'll land right there as far as right now goes.
Yeah, I think my thing was I don't even think they make a bowl this year, but I think they probably pull off 4 or 5 wins, and then they're a lot more competitive in the games that they lose, rather than getting beat by 50 every week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If they beat Oklahoma, y'all are gonna all have to mute me.
No, but then they're all gonna say, they're gonna come back with, well, it's not the same Kansas team that y'all lost to, and that's all it's gonna be. I've already seen it from West Virginia fans. I've already seen West Virginia fans saying it on Twitter, like, this isn't this isn't Kansas from last year. This isn't Kansas from the last couple years. Nick Copeland coming in with a hot take here. Kansas will beat OU. You heard it here first. Nick, I sure as hell hope so. That would make my entire football season if that happened, because then we don't get to hear you lost to Kansas anymore.
I'm done 5-7 versus Kansas. If they lose to Kansas and go 5-7 this year,
done. It's over. It's over. I'm gonna get blocked by 1,000 accounts over the next
I hope
offseason.
I get blocked by 1,000 accounts.
You probably already are blocked by 1,000 accounts. Let's be honest.
I'm blocked probably by like 5,000 Aggie accounts, but I don't know.
Well,
I don't know about no. I'm going to be blocked by every Oklahoma person in the known world.
Well, I can't piss them off too much because they're actually a pretty big following of ours. So actually, screw it.
I know.
I'll keep my morals over my followers. Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to talk about, I guess, moving on from the AP poll and college football as a whole, but obviously we don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback position. Sark says Quinn is day to day. I don't know if he's actually day to day. I think we're probably looking at more of a 2 to 4 week span. I actually had one. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the fact that it's his non-throwing shoulder is a good thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's basically like pain management, and then it does matter that it's that it's hurt. Like, you don't want him to like re-injure it so quickly that like he's going to be out for the rest of the year. I think, or my guess would be that the goal is to have him back by Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I want him to be back by Oklahoma. I want him to sit out until then, because I think we can like kind of hobble along until Oklahoma. Oh, that Tech game worries me. I'd like to have him for that, but by the OU game, and I think that Quinn is like, he's a fighter enough to be back by then.
Yeah.
I mean, but really, the day-to-day thing it's such kind of coach speak. If we can be honest, if we can just be honest, like, obviously he's not going to play against UTSA, and he's probably not going to play against Tech the week after.
Right. And I think Sark kind of just like intentionally lumped him in with Roshan and Hudson and all those guys. He said those guys are day-to-day, but threw Quinn in there as well. And I think more of those guys are day-to-day than Quinn is. But I think it was just an easier way for him to just say, yeah, everybody's day-to-day. Throw your predictions, throw whatever reports you heard last week, throw all that shit out the window. We're going day-to-day. I think that's more what it was.
Yeah. Okay, so our injury list. So we've got Deshaun Jameson, Quinn, Hudson. Uh, did I see? I saw Bijan on there.
Yeah.
What's with that? I don't like Quinn, Bijan, and Hudson and Deshaun Jackson gone all at the same time. Like
No,
this is not fun.
No, that's a rough number of people to be hurt, especially quality of people. I
Yeah.
think with Bijan's thing, I remember seeing he had an MRI on his shoulder. I don't remember what for, like what if it was just pain or what they thought might be wrong. But I know
Or like
he had talked to
precautionary,
yeah.
maybe. Okay.
I know that he had talked to somebody and he said that he was in pain, but he'd be fine by midweek, and that basically he just needed to quit being a puss about it and get over it. And
I don't know that he. Okay.
Bijan's the kind of guy. No, Bijan said that about himself.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think he'll be fine. It's just at this point praying that it doesn't turn into an injury that's debilitating.
Yeah.
Madison says, "Oh, go ahead. We'll get to that in a second."
Oh no, I was just going to say real quick. I think one of the silver linings about the way our schedule is this year is like, I think Joel Klatt said, Texas is more liable to get banged up early because we have to, even in practice in fall camp, you have Alabama looming the second game. So you have, like, your practices are going to be a lot more physical. So we saw that with the injuries in fall camp. We saw, Naylor.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had several pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't. Okay. We had several. Yeah, just there because you do have to approach camp differently. So now here we are. We've got a little bit of a reprieve in UTSA where we can kind of help it. Like, we don't need to play Bijan every snap.
Right.
Obviously not. Like, he probably, hopefully, doesn't even have to play like any of the second half. I would hope not. We've got plenty of room in that running back group, but yeah, that's all. That's all I was gonna say. Is just kind of like the way the schedule is. Maybe we can rest people up and get them healthier.
No,
if it's nagging injuries like that, I think that's a good.
Certainly a little bit of a break coming up, which like you said, it plays in our favor. What Madison was saying was that we need Quinn for the Tech game. And Rhett, the resident Tech fan, says, "You're damn right you do. Welcome to the quarterback woes, better known as my last 4 seasons." I don't feel bad for you, Rhett. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't think we need Quinn for the Tech game. I don't. I know it's going to be a tough game at Tech, but I just don't think the Tech defense is there.
I don't think we need Quinn for Tech. I would feel a lot better if we at least had Hudson for Tech.
Yeah. I don't know if I want Charles Wright playing anybody but maybe UTSA.
I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Or we're going to be doing a lot of Wildcats, Rojo.
That's an interesting thing to me. And somebody said that on Twitter last night. And my thing is, like, you can use Roschon in the Wildcat, but you can't rely on him to win you a game with just Roschon in the Wildcat, because he's not going to be able to throw the ball like he did in high school. He hasn't played quarterback. He hasn't practiced at quarterback for 4 years. So I don't know. I think we see a lot of it, but I still think you have to have somebody back there that can throw the ball.
Well, and too, like, the Wildcat it's not designed to be like the majority of your
Right. It's like we're putting this in there to see if you game plan for it at all.
Yeah, we're throwing a curveball at you. Here, deal with it. Yeah, it's not designed to be an every play type thing or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I would certainly feel.
It's like having a bye week. Yeah. I'm gonna knock on wood before I eat my words, but yeah.
I would definitely feel more comfortable with Quinn at the Tech game, and I think the difference between Quinn Ewers or Hudson Card or Charles Wright or whoever playing quarterback, I think it's probably a 6-point difference as far as like a spread goes. But I still think I just don't know if Tech is quite there yet. Maybe next year. I like the way they're moving with Joey McGuire, but I still think there's too many weaknesses in the defense. I think, especially, I mean, hell, if our defense plays the way they did against Bama, I'm not worried about our offense because I think we're
Yeah.
going to create a lot of turnovers against teams like Tech. I mean, hell, their quarterback threw 3 interceptions this week. I think I got that right. Against Houston, and I don't think
Yeah.
Houston's defense touches ours.
No. Their new Big 12 girlfriend, Houston.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I've actually got the Bama game on like replay in my room right now, and I just realized something. So where it's on now is 14 minutes into the second. No, so a minute into the second quarter, we've got 14 minutes left. Our defense held them to 0 points in the second quarter.
Yeah, that's huge.
I don't think I've heard that stat yet.
Yeah.
I just realized that. That's pretty cool. And we did manage to score some points in every single quarter. I do know that.
Yeah, I guess because we did score that touchdown technically in the second quarter. I guess
It was
like,
the end of that one drive.
Yeah, like 99% of the drive came in the first, but yeah, I mean,
We held them scoreless in the entire second quarter of the game.
That's insane.
I don't know. This is a Kyle online question. Like, how many teams have actually been able to do that versus Alabama?
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure it's like if you look at the
probably more.
last if you look at the last like 5 years, it's probably not many. But back when like the SEC was like 9-3 finals and all that, I'm sure a lot of teams did. We can't get off this Tech game yet because Rhett's still in here. Check the stat line. We just held a scramble quarterback to negative rushing yards through 4 quarters and 2 overtimes. It ain't much, but it's honest work.
Rhett better be balls to the wall in our live YouTube thing next week.
Yeah.
Oh, and Rhett, I will see you in Lubbock. You promised me a good time. So.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there.
Oh yeah, you're going to. Okay, yeah, we'll hang out.
It's gonna be. Speaking of Tech, I mean, a 2:30 kick. We kind of dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed personally because I wanted to be there for like a primetime game in Lubbock, but just for the fan experience. But as far as like Texas winning goes, I feel much better about a 2:30 kick versus a 7.
It's convenient for me, like in driving in and like making it a day game, obviously, or a day trip. But now I did go to the Tech game in Lubbock 2 years ago, and we sat on the visitors' side stand, so we're facing the setting sun, and it was hotter than actual F. It was as hot, if not hotter, and I can say this, as the first game against Louisiana Lafayette last year for that 3:00 kick. It was as hot, if not hotter. Like it was miserable. So that's the only reason I'm not a fan of this 2:30 kick. But
here's the thing: is it because we're looking at tickets still, and I'm gonna buy a week of because I got my ticket for like probably $300 cheaper than I would have like a month in advance. I paid. Did you see my seats by any chance? I mean, I was in. I was on the visitor side, so I was on the Bama sideline. On the 25-yard line, about 18 rows up from the field.
Yeah, so you had that same like kind of factor a little bit.
Incredible seats.
Yeah.
But I got it for $250 from one of our followers on Twitter. So we're buying tickets the week of, and I don't know, is it worth it to sit on the visitor side for how much cheaper it's going to be? Because right now the home side tickets are like a good $150 more expensive.
I've sat in the 2016. Yes. So I sat in the end zone. Like it was actually fun because we were right in front of our band. By the way, can we address this?
Oh yeah.
I have a video of our band at Tech in the end zone corner in the upper deck. One of my favorite game day signs, by the way, was Bama's band is scared heights.
Yes, that was awesome.
Oh man, that had me laughing. So no, all you little like softies out there like crying about, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing it. It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
I have a video, and this was like 6 years ago, of us at Tech in the upper deck. Like, I can't help that our stadium is bigger and further away from the field. It's still the upper deck.
And one thing I saw Chris Del Conte tweet today, Somebody had asked about like why was the band sitting up, or like why did we not give them seats or whatever. And apparently in the SEC, it's a rule by the conference that you have to allot 2,500 tickets for visiting band, parents, whoever, just fans in general, in the lower bowl, like lower sections. So when we go to the SEC, we're going to have to reserve 2,500 tickets for a visiting section, which I think is stupid as hell. But it's not a rule in the Big 12.
Well, I'll appreciate it when I'm going to other places.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love that. I like a true home field advantage. You shouldn't have to. I mean, Bama's band has more than 400 people in it. Why should we give them 400 of our best seats? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. And you don't want them like necessarily right next to your band either.
Yeah, exactly. Or your student section.
Oh, hell no. Or maybe you do. I don't know.
That student section was ready to go. I was sitting in the section next to him, and like the FU
they were packed in there, like
it was crazy.
At like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was so happy to see that.
I just want to see that replicated though, because I know if I'm a student at Texas, I'm at every damn game that I can get. Like
I was at all the games when I was there.
Exactly. Yeah, but
you
were there at a damn good time, weren't you?
I was there at the best time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and brag. Okay, y'all ready? Y'all ready? When I was a student at Texas, I got to see us win 2 baseball natties, go to the Final Four in men's basketball, and a football natty.
You need to re-enroll in like some kind of
like underwater basket weaving or just somewhere.
Yeah, just get enrolled as a student again so that we can be good at something.
Yeah, I was there like at probably the most like the best time.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of happened to fall into that. So
that is absolutely the best time.
We got spoiled a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So
yeah, wow. Talk about the age difference here. I was 8 years old when we won the national championship in football.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and especially like later. So by my apartment in West Campus, it was on the 3rd floor. And I had a balcony in my room, and I guarantee you, there's about like 15 high rises, right? High rises in the way now, but I had the perfect view of the tower lit, like with the number 1 for the football natty.
That's awesome.
And the baseball natty. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like that's something that very, very, very few people have. So. Yeah. I cherish it. I definitely don't take advantage of it. So I just want this new generation to be able to do that too.
Yep. Okay. This is probably the last thing that we'll talk about tonight, but I can't go an entire stream without mentioning this. And I want to show the video. I hope we don't get DMCA striked by the University of Texas A&M media team. But I'm showing the damn thing. And if they DMCA strike me, well, it was a good run that we had for 3 weeks.
They can't strike us on Twitter.
I'm going to throw it up there and let y'all watch it for whoever's left. This is a treat. A&M sucks, and let's take a look at why. Okay, well, again, technology. I have this fucking site muted.
I had to Google this team to make sure that they're even real. I was really confused because Appalachia is definitely not a state. But sure enough, I found them, and they're located deep, and I mean deep in the backwoods. Just like you would think any hillbilly college that names themselves the Mountaineers.
Everybody knows it's coming, but we're going to watch it anyway because it's awesome.
Because I know for a fact that half of their football team can barely even read the name on their jerseys, let alone read a map. It's a shame that the only 2 brain cells that all these guys have left are going to get knocked out by our wrecking crew defense tomorrow.
All right, so that's it.
I have no audio. I can't hear the audio, but
Oh, you
yeah.
couldn't hear it, but you know what it was.
I
I'm sure you've watched it.
is I don't know, like if I've been mistaken, but Appalachian or Appalachia is not
Not
a
a
state.
which was hilarious like 40 years ago when people first told that joke about like other schools that are like whatever state, but they're not states.
And
Um,
state,
and
yeah.
I saw somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody tweeted something about how like I can't believe A&M allows this and promotes this and streams this on their YouTube and all that. And I'm not even like, it's not that offensive. They called them hillbillies. Like it's not like they going out there and said a bunch of racist stuff, um, or talked about people dying or whatever. Um, I obviously I'm not offended by that, but I want it to be funny. Like if you're gonna sit there and stand up in front of all these people and talk shit about a team, say something funny.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard from Aggies even that like that's one of the most cringe, if not the most cringe part of like yell practice.
Yeah.
Which okay, from an unbiased like if I can like take off my burnt orange goggles for a minute, like yell practice is not entirely a bad idea. I will give that to them. Like we have our own stuff, like they do that. Like I can see how it's a cool thing.
Yeah, but why do we have to call it
Especially
yell practice? Like
I don't
name it something
know.
cooler.
Again, it's basically a glorified pep rally
Yeah.
that you're still doing in college, but whatever. But even like Aggies will say the most cringe is like whenever story time,
Oh yeah.
courtesy of the yell leaders, because like I guarantee you none of them are like public speakers, and I mean that's prime example. Like it's always just either really really bad or just cringe.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so apparently even Aggies themselves are like whatever, but man, it just makes it a little bit more delicious because you're making fun of them,
Well,
and then you kind of.
The best part is they're taking it off Twitter completely. Everybody who tweets this video is getting DMCA striked and it is getting removed. And it is just so hilarious that they're so like concerned about this, because I've seen Midnight Yell clips shared all over the place when it's not talking about how cringe or bad it is. But now that everybody's roasting it, they're like, oh nope, that's that's our media. You can't use that.
Well, and honestly, like if anything, it brings more attention to it.
Yeah.
Like, because you're gonna find ways to view this video, right?
Exactly.
I mean, like it's the internet. Like everything is shared.
Yeah.
You can't hide anything forever.
If they just let Barstool run with it for a day, and it's like, oh, haha, laugh at A&M.
Everybody's gonna laugh at you and get over it, and then it'll be done with.
Tomorrow, or even by like this point, it's gone. But I mean, there's still like that video was from just a couple of hours ago. Like, people are still sharing this video all over the place, laughing at A&M. It's so funny.
Well, what's even funnier though, like you said, it was the reaction and kind of the link that they're gonna go to kind of like shut it up.
Yeah. Like my dad just said, Aggie got butt hurt. Never heard of such a thing. Exactly.
Ever.
No. A&M never gets butt hurt about anything.
They're the biggest woe is me. We're never gonna amount to anything. When's it gonna be our turn? Blah 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 blah.
And we always hear this is as much as they talk about Texas saying like, oh, we're gonna be better this year. This is our year. They do the same shit just as much.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then they find a way to screw it up too. So.
Next week, we're definitely going to have to talk about the fact that this is Jimbo's 5th year, and they're obviously like regressing.
Yeah, it's been bad. We can definitely talk about that and get into the.
We still have time.
Yeah, the Jimbo Fisher offense is something I definitely want to get into. But for tonight,
I have so many thoughts.
I do too. For tonight, a good hour and a half.
Yay!
That's
without
not bad.
Shane.
Not bad. Yeah, and we lost Shane for part of it. He said his service just completely dropped out. So it's tough with him on the road, man. Like I don't ever want to do one of these without him, because I did the one last week by myself and it was bad. But
that was my fault too. Yeah.
Oh no, it's okay. You
I
have
like
kids.
the 3 of us.
He's got kids. Like he's
I
on the road. You have a kid.
Yeah.
That's more kids than I have. So.
Well, still.
um,
It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to next week, especially with Tech looming, and we're both going to be there. We're about to get into the fun part of the season, so.
Yeah, I agree.
More stuff.
I agree. Alrighty, well, thanks everybody for hanging out and staying for all this. I think we're down to like 6 viewers now, but I don't blame y'all for dropping out. It's been a while, and these can be hard to stay in for a real long time. But yeah, hook 'em everybody.